Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Can we talk about Gem and the Holograms? Here we are again. Can we talk about podcast here? We're taking you through the hidden wormhole that's in your house, in the basement fridge, to that alternate...
Your rat hole!
to your rat hole, to that neo-80s future, presenting you something from the normal 1980s for some reason. It is 80s, air quotes, cartoon classic, Gem and the Holograms. I am the neon punk synthesizer enthusiast. My name is Joe.
I am Kristen and the Diamonds, or Electra Kristen. Kristen!
And I'm Madeline. It's my third time here, and I'm the 90 boy band.
Wow.
90 boy band? 90s boy band.
All 90 boy bands!
Yo, there's a boy band with 100 members, and I'm just waiting for the day when I fall into that disaster, so I'm that.
Perfect!
I am the boy band collective.
We'd like to welcome Madeline again. She's here to discuss Hot Time in Hawaii with us, which is our thing for this
She's
week.
here to support us through Hot Time in Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm always here for the bad episodes.
You know what?
Well,
when you lose someone close to you, it's good to have the support of family and friends.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
This episode is about healing, you
It's
guys.
a tragedy. It really is.
We are watching Gem and the Holograms via Shout Factory's Gem and the Holograms Truly Outrageous Complete Box Set series set, and Netflix.
Joe, it's Outra CEOs.
Excuse me, Ouch CEOs, and Netflix for Kristen and Madeline, which I assume is still there.
Yes.
Like, literally, we were checking it 2 seconds ago.
This week, taking Madeline along for the trip again. You know, last time, well, actually, you know what? All 3 episodes Madeline has been here. First, you know, Kimber's Rebellion, it was Paris. Then Adventure in China, which was, you know, China.
It's an adventure.
And now Hot Time in Hawaii, which I don't... Does this say more about, like, the way that we choose the episodes that Madeline comes on for, or just, like, the show itself going a bunch of places?
I think it's the show, because, like, next week we're going to a fake country, so...
We ran out of normal countries already.
I'm on pretty regularly, so I feel like it's like one of those, like, every 6 or 7 episodes, there's just one where they go somewhere.
There are lots of planes and tarmacs in this series. It's just the way of things.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
another getting off a plane in this episode again.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's not
trust
as
me, we
bad.
noticed.
It's not as bad. Everything is not as bad because it all feels like when I eat too much cheese before I go to bed and I have a fucked up dream.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe
It
this,
feels like a
actually.
weird cheese dream where like nothing really makes sense, but it's not that bad.
You know, this episode, we got some high highs, we got some low lows, and the closest thing... Yeah, I mean, I say the closest thing to a character death, but I mean, like, Kimber nearly dies. Kimber nearly dies twice in this episode.
That's true.
I thought you were talking about
Violently.
Zipper.
Well, and that's the thing. Zipper just becomes... We discussed this. He becomes Chuck Cunningham. He just disappears.
I still don't really quite understand that reference.
I have no idea what that reference is.
It's...
Are we
I'm
going to
not afraid to
explain it
say it.
again for the
All
second
right,
time
all
on this podcast?
All right, so Madeline, Chuck Cunningham was the brother of Richie Cunningham on Happy Days, the older brother, and he just disappeared after like the first 2 seasons or something, and they never referenced him again, really.
Okay.
So Zipper's getting zippered.
Zip zap.
He's getting zipped up.
Zapped away.
Zipped up to heaven.
Yeah.
Zip him up.
You know what? We're going to have to face this head on. It's time for Hot Time in Hawaii. It's hot time for Hawaii. Let's play the theme song. So we start out, written by Beth Bornstein, which we have another connection to Adventure in China immediately, which is weird.
It's not a good association to have right off the bat.
No, this is the lady who wrote Adventure in China. But she
It
does a
doesn't
better,
prepare us for good things.
she does a better job in this episode, at least.
This episode isn't as racist. And honestly, like, it was just kind of like mildly unpleasant and never like directly cringeworthy.
It's goofier in a way that doesn't make sense to me. The same way that Broadway Magic was just weirdly goofy. It doesn't fit for me.
Right, there's a lot of weird questions that we'll be asking throughout the episode. We start in a jazzercise class already in progress.
Great.
For some reason, the instrumentation of We Can Change It is playing in the background. I don't know why.
We can change our figures.
And, of course, as is par for the course of 80s workout fashion, everybody looks terrible.
Joe, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you guess what my question's going to be?
Is it you going to be asking me what I think good fashion is?
No. It's more that why are we being shown all of these people getting physical and Synergy is nowhere to be seen?
Oh my god, you're right! I didn't even think about that!
Doesn't it seem kind of fucked up?
Aja is, maybe she's taking some pointers from Synergy, because apparently she's been treating the holograms and the orphans a little badly, because Kimber refers to her as a slave driver?
That's what you call an exaggeration thing. Maybe even a gross exaggeration.
I understand you don't want to work out, Kimber, but Jesus Christ.
I'm just very distraught by the fact that Jerrica doesn't take her earrings out to do exercise, because I was traumatized very early on and told that if you ever wore your earrings to gym class, they would just rip right out of your ears.
I was a cheerleader for a few years. That's true.
She's wearing these priceless priceless in the sense that if she loses them, she's completely screwed.
Quote unquote rubies.
They could be fake rubies. That she's wearing these to her crappy jazzercise class. Like,
what if Kimber elbows her in the ear by accident, a la Roxy?
You're not gonna have an emergency I need to be gem now moment, hopefully, in the gym. So just take them out.
Put them in your bra.
Do anything. Don't do that. That would hurt.
Yeah, that would be kind of pokey.
They're a little spiky, those earrings.
Yeah. Just put them in places.
That stressed me out.
My favorite part about this is the doorbell rings, and Jerrica's like, I'll go get it, and she continues like jazzercising her way towards the door.
That's dedication.
And she only ends up missing like the last 5 seconds of class because it ends very shortly afterwards, and there's like an animation of everybody clapping, but there's no clapping sounds, as it's like, yeah, good workout, everybody, good workout.
They were sarcastic claps.
Jem comes back in, or Jerrica, I should say, because she's not. She'll be Jem for the rest of the episode. Jerrica is...
Let's get these things straight now.
She comes in with a letter saying that they got an invitation to this year's Battle of the Music Stars, which is clearly a takeoff on Battle of the Network Stars.
We really had a moment of just like, why is this battle all sports related?
Yeah.
I'm very confused about that.
I was going to ask, hey Joe, at what point in this episode did you realize it was a fitness competition? Because it sounds like a battle of the bands.
Like they're gonna kill each other.
I'm used to that stuff in like non-American like pop culture. I'm not used to like the idea. We don't have things where we have our pop stars run laps. We don't do that. We don't
not
play that
anymore.
Game. I love that game. We don't do that.
Yeah, we did in the 80s. It was Battle of the Network Stars, which
I think it says some stuff that didn't continue to catch on.
Yeah.
Held in Hawaii, of course, because that is the setting of the episode. Which I don't know much about Battle of the Network Stars. We could just assume that one of them was in Hawaii. Fuck it, whatever.
Now, do we gotta give them credit that it's in Honolulu, or that they say it's in Honolulu, yet they're still in, like, a jungle?
They never once go indoors.
No. Yeah, there's straw huts, and that's about it. No, correct me if I'm wrong. Never been to Hawaii before. Isn't Honolulu a city?
I would assume there's a city section, but we don't really see it other than the stadium with the pool, which looks like it's in the middle of a city, which we see way later in the episode.
And they built it just for these famous rock ladies. Good for them. Volcano was built just for Kimber.
That's the other thing. It's in very close proximity to a volcano, which we'll get to as well.
The extreme swimming.
If you survive, you win.
The winner gets a trophy and the chance to play at the governor's mansion, but a trophy.
Trophies are great. I mean, I have a lot of them.
It really, I mean,
I did a sport for 12 years.
It raises a question about why the Misfits want this trophy so bad later in the episode, but
do you think Pizzazz wouldn't want a trophy? I'm confused about your angle here.
I mean, we see in a music video later, Roxy is very sad about winning her trophy.
Oh, winning is everything.
Aja suggests, maybe we should just get back in shape, and all the holograms are like, oh no.
No exercise, we're already thin.
And to contrast that, I guess we cut to the Misfits now, who are at Special Music Star Buffet.
Oh, yep, amazing. Yeah, I guess this is supposed to be some kind of like, I guess it's not like a parallel storyline, right? It's like a perpendicular one.
Opposites,
where it's like,
we'll
the holograms, they're all exercising and preparing for this fitness competition, and the Misfits, they're eating.
I mean, this comes up later, but I was actually genuinely concerned that this would become like an episode about eating disorders, because there's like one group that's exercising way too much and one group that's like eating and feeling really bad about eating. Like they keep having like really subtle like, oh, maybe we should also be working out. No, just eat more. And it's like, this is really uncomfortable.
I am shocked.
I was really, really scared it was going to turn all, like, Saved by the Bell. Like, we're going to make this really serious suddenly.
I can't believe there's not an episode of Gem like that.
I appreciate that.
For all the other weird, uncomfortable topics they hit on poorly.
Yeah.
So that's one nice thing, at least.
I'm glad it just kind of was a thing that was there and was dropped.
Oh, the Misfits are hungry. Misfits.
Whoa, Adventure in China coming around again. Jesus Christ.
Woo.
Stormer asks if they should be exercising, because apparently we learned that, yes, the Misfits got invited to the Battle of the Music Stars as well. And Pizzazz is just, straight up says, no, we don't need to be in shape to win, because we're going to hire... She actually has I think this is a decent idea, actually, of her being like, we'll just hire Zipper, and he'll teach us how to cheat.
I didn't know Zipper freelanced to, like, the individual Misfits.
He was like their personal trainer of how to be a shitbag.
Yeah, I figured he would bring Eric along or something, but he leaves dear old dad behind, strikes out on his own, and see where it gets him.
Eric is nowhere to be found in this episode, although there are a lot of people voiced by Charlie Adler, I noticed.
Yeah, so I guess it balances out.
Roxy also talks with her mouth full about, like, oh, Gem and the holograms are totally gonna lose or something like that, but she sounds like drunk at the beginning before you realize that she's talking with her mouth full.
She's smacking her lips right into the microphone, and it made me kind of upset. Like, just don't do that.
We don't like hearing noises like that, so yeah, Stormer, again, tries to cut in and be like, hey, or we could, like, try. And then Roxy and Pizzazz are like, that's not how we do.
We're cutting to an airplane now, because there's no time, like, they go through shit really fast in this episode. There's a lot of shit happening in this episode, because we're already
It doesn't need to happen, because then we have 2 encore songs at the end.
Yeah, really, what the fuck?
They could have slowed their roll a little bit.
We cut to an airplane where... I got really confused at first, because we have a shot of the airplane in the air, and then fade to, like, Kimber walking up to what looks like to me like a fucking ticket terminal or something. Like, her being like, I'd like to get on the plane, please.
The one that's already in the air. Just bring me up. But she's at some kind of, like, airplane.
Yeah, see, no, yeah,
bar.
you're getting confused now too. But yeah, there's an entire bar on this goddamn airplane.
First class.
It's bigger than my apartment. It's not fair.
And they have pineapple juice.
Yeah, she orders a large pineapple juice because, going to Hawaii may as well.
He opens a can and pours it into a cup. I don't know why you can't just cut out the middleman and give her the can.
Maybe a weapon of some sort. I don't know.
Oh yeah, she's gonna go ham with that can.
I don't know air regulations
but
on
it's
cans,
okay.
Kristen.
She runs into a hunky Ken doll, so it's fine.
Yeah, wow, Steve actually is kind of Kenish, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
He knows Kimber as well. Like, it's weird because he walks into her and is just like, oh, I'm a big fan of Kit, like, without, like, not realizing it was her at first. So I kind of feel like Steve might have planned this.
That's creepy. A romantic comedy where someone's trying too hard.
And for some reason it's cute instead of really uncomfortable.
Yep, and then they fall in love anyway, and then Steve doesn't show up after this episode.
Yeah, he also catches Kimber as well. Like there's some turbulence and Kimber kind of falls into him, sort of. So honestly, this plan is going exactly how Steve probably planned it. Because he already gets to... All right, so it's just like, oh, go sit down because we're about to go land. And Kimber's just like, oh, would you like to join me sitting down on the airplane where everybody is sitting down?
Did you notice that, like, behind them, it looked like Jem wasn't sitting next to anyone anymore? Maybe Kimber was sitting next to her and then she abandoned her?
I got confused because, yeah, I thought that Kimber was leading Steve back to, like, where her seat was, and that she had an empty seat next to her, which implies that either Steve was sitting next to her the entire time and she didn't notice, Jem moved out of that seat and, like, went back to the other seat where there was an empty seat next to her. I didn't know if Rio was in this episode, so I assumed Rio would have been sitting next to Jem. I don't know.
He didn't get there until later, so he wasn't on this plane.
Very
what
awkward.
What kind of lawless plane is this where you can just do-si-do with the seats?
I've been on those.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of lawless plane was that?
It was from Russia, so I don't know what that says.
Well,
but
this is
seats
America.
were not assigned, and people would trade them, like, willy-nilly.
Man,
So,
what
like,
a world.
you had to rush the airplane to get on and get a good seat, because otherwise you were always stuck in the middle.
Man, I guarantee you, like, on American Airlines, that shit would not be happening.
No.
Wow,
Anyway,
Jesus.
airplane talk. You're welcome.
I was on, like, 4 airplanes a week ago.
This is why we bring you in, Madeline, because you offer a lot of insight into airplanes.
That's
I
true.
know so much about airplanes.
That's been very helpful so far.
Steve offers to coach Gem and the Holograms for the Battle of the Music Stars because he knows about sports and stuff.
Do you think that's how he words it on his resume?
The plane lands at this point, and Aja takes a moment. She, stands at the top of the staircase, getting off the plane, stops to smell the air. She's really just trying to not run off the plane with her arms waving in the air. And
She's stopping and enjoying apparently the urban air smells great.
Did she say like tropical or something?
Yeah, the tropical city.
I was looking at my notes because I was typing really poorly, but am I wrong to say that they did land on the beach? Like, they kind of landed, like, in the forest on the beach.
Well, they were definitely really close to some trees.
I feel like there was sand. I could be completely wrong. I could be misremembering, but that would not surprise me.
I like that visual.
Jem and company are greeted as they get off the plane by some, hula ladies with leis. Which, that's an actual thing, right? When you fly to Hawaii, they do that?
I think that's like if you're paying for like the horrible tourist package.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like certain airlines have people who will do that for you. It is not like a cultural thing. It is like we need to cater to the white people thing.
I had a moment where watching this and I saw the ladies with the leis and everything where I thought to myself, in every single piece of media I've ever seen in my entire life involving Hawaii, I've seen this happen. I don't know anything about Hawaii.
Did they do that in the Brady Bunch Hawaii thing? Probably.
Probably. There was the tiki thing and the curse, and that's all I remember.
Yeah, Christopher Knight dying, or whoever. Was it Peter that got it? I don't even remember. Fuck it. Kimber's all serious, too, because she's just like, Steve, we need to get ready for the competition. We just got here, Kimber. Please fucking calm down.
Just grabbing him by his polo shirt collar, going, wow, this is really tight. Train me. You look really good in that shirt.
Is Steve voiced by Rio's voice actor? Because I feel like he is.
I think I would have noticed and would have hated him more intensely.
I feel like there's a moment,
I don't know for sure.
There's a moment later when he's screaming for Kimber where I'm like, that sounds like Rio, but I can't be certain. I'm just going on a
Maybe
thought.
Rio was there too at that point and he was throwing his voice.
Oh god. What if they're the same person? What if
oh my god,
what
it's
if
him
Rio with like
a
hair?
blonde wig.
Yeah, or I was thinking like hairspray, even though that's not how those work.
Well, Rio doesn't have guns like that.
What if Rio got his own synergy and he's fucking with Jem because she's fucking with him?
What if Rio is dating every single one of the holograms?
Oh my god, Rio is also Craig Phillips and Anthony Julian.
How did we never notice?
He's a master of disguise, just like Lash. Also, what's his synergy's name? Sonergy?
Sonergy?
Yes, Sunny and Synergy.
I've got to put some pictures up on my wall and connect the red tape.
So we cut to the holograms training now, who are training on the beach, and the Misfits are just like down the beach. They're pretty close for some reason. They're all the Misfits are all just kind of sitting on a thing, tanning to obviously give you another contrast of the holograms are working towards their shit, and the Misfits are not. And Stormer once again is just like, I need to jog on the beach. I need to jog right now.
I gotta go.
And then Zipper grabs her shoulder and she's just kind of like when it happens.
That's the appropriate reaction.
And Zipper's here in his orange and blue swim trunks assures Stormer that she won't have to do nothing legal, that is.
Zipper is in various states of goofy dress. This whole fucking episode.
This is the part in my notes where I wrote in all caps, except for the P, which is lowercase because I messed up. It says zip zap, and then underneath it says zippy go home. And I don't remember what exactly those refer to, but the whole episode really is zip zap, zippy go home.
Yeah. Get off Hawaii, please. Go somewhere else.
Zipper says that he has some special equipment for the Misfits, and I jumped to conclusions immediately and went steroids.
But no, it turns out he has weird Scooby-Doo gadgets. I guess.
I said James Bond gadgets.
Yeah.
No.
Since when is he the tech guy? I thought he literally has a brother who does that though.
Yeah. See, I love that Madeline listens to our podcast and knows all the in-jokes.
It makes sense though. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird to have him playing the showman here, being like, oh, and over here I have this lovely bicycle with all these special things.
He's the dumb muscle. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense for him to have invention.
His job is to climb real fast, and he's so good at it.
Be making springy shoes. He should just be just kind of bumping into people with his chest and be like.
Right.
That's just what he does. That's the Zipper way. But here, yeah, he's playing Q for some reason. He's just being fucking Q, showing off his James Bond gadgets with first
They're
we get
more Totally Spies gadgets.
they're more Totally Spies gadgets. First of which is a bike that has an electromagnet in it. What is the proper terminology for those wheel killer things? Because the only
Spike strips? No.
piece of media I know them from is Grease.
Is it Grease? Yeah.
It is
I know
Grease.
I know them from Little Rascals. Because I watched that movie a lot when I was a kid. I don't know.
Oof, I don't know enough about cars and street racing and bike street racing to
This
answer
is
that.
Skybuckets all over again.
Yeah, for real. Except I feel like
I don't know the
we
answer.
should have known what cable cars were called. I feel like it's acceptable that we don't know what this is called.
And there's a third thing that Zipper needs to show Roxy, but Roxy is just like, yeah, let me take the bike. And she gets out on the bike, and Zipper has like a really tech rat moment here, actually, where he's like, no, don't touch that! And like chases after her on a different bike, and while she's riding, she's just like, oh, what does the green one do? And she flips the green one, and it produces like an oil slick, and Zipper gets a fucking face full of sand because he falls off the bike.
He drives right behind her despite knowing that's what was going to happen. That's on him.
That is on him, you're right. Pizzazz and Stormer also, laugh in his fucking face, because, and that's probably the most bad we're going to see Stormer this episode, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Also, do you think that hurt his feelings? Do you think he ruminates on that in jail?
It would have been like, if I should have known. They were laughing at me.
They're not going to laugh at me anymore. And then it cuts to him in the gym getting pumped up. Even more pumped up.
He has pizzazz written across his knuckles as he's doing pull-ups.
I was just about to ask, like, everyone has, like, the regular amount of fingers, right? This isn't, like, a sometimes thing. What would his knuckle tattoos be? Because Zip Zap won't work.
Yeah, Zip Zap. You could do Zip and Zap with exclamation points.
Shoot, there's a tattoo parlor down the street. I think I might do that.
Yeah, they'll be really happy to have you after you've been drinking wine.
Next, he shows off like a pole vault thing with a spring in it, which launches Pizzazz into a palm tree when she tries it out.
Apparently, Pizzazz already knows how to pole vault.
And she's pretty good at it, too.
multi-talented. Yeah, she did just fine.
But yeah, she gets flown up into a tree and asks Zipper if she wants him to make a nest up there.
Oh, perfect. I'm just gonna live up here now. And Zipper's like, oh, I'll fix it. He's just not as adept at this thing than his brother. That's how he goes to jail. He thinks he can step with the big rats in the rat hole.
Tech Rat gets it right first.
Uh-huh. So Tech Rat definitely visits him and goes, I told you. That's my Tech Rat impression.
They're both so bad.
And finally, the last thing that we see is Zipper gives Stormer some, like, shoes with springs in them, which don't seem that helpful. Because, honestly, at this point, it's just Zipper's adding springs to things, and he's calling that cheating.
I don't know, maybe they're not, like, up to code or something. But yeah, I don't really see what the big deal is either.
And then when Stormer tests them out, she goes all George Jetson by going, stop these crazy things!
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. This is where the episode starts to lose me, where I'm like, these episodes are stupid, but we're getting back to that weird, like, Rio kicking a tray of hot dogs out of a man's hand sort of thing. Going like, oh, it's slapstick.
Well, there's sound effects, fucking like stock silly sound effects happening all while she's bouncing around and shit. And I was just like, this can't be really happening. They would know that there's fucking springs in the shoes. So, Zipper put speakers in the shoes to make it play silly sound effects.
Spring. I made it myself.
When this happens as well, I think it's the angriest we're gonna hear Stormer in the entire series, because most of the times that she's angry, there's also like disappointment in her voice. When this one, she's just straight up pissed.
Yeah, she's not having fun on the springy shoes.
And Zipper says, hey, nobody said cheating be easy.
And then she springs right over and spring kicks him in the face.
We cut to Kimber Swimber, and Steve seems to be doing a good job training them, it looks like, but a fucking shark comes out of the water out of nowhere.
And the shark looks like sort of mad. Like, I guess you could argue that sharks don't always look happy or anything, but it might as well have, like, Trogdor angry eyebrows and, like, a beefy arm coming out of the back of its neck. I don't know.
It's a little ridiculous for, like, also the scale of it is all over the place, but this shark is swimming after Kimber. It needs to be
Kimber size so we can gobble up Kimber.
Right. The shark is swimming after Kimber, and a Kimbark, of course.
That doesn't even work.
And that's the end of segment 1, Kimber about to be eaten by a Shimber.
A very clearly real Shimber.
Segment 2 starts. Kimber is still swimming away, and Steve...
This is just making her better at swimming.
Steve is the fucking hero of the year at this point, too, because he goes in on a jet ski and fucking harpoons the shark while on a jet ski.
Great aim.
Great aim. You're right. Rio's really fucking doing a number on this guy.
He's multi-talented.
And it turns out the shark was a robot, because it explodes. Once again, how did Zipper get his hands on a robot shark? Zipper is watching through binoculars as well, and it's at this point that Charlie Adler barely disguises his Eric Raymond voice. Like he Zipper speaks as Eric Raymond for about 2 lines before returning to the normal Zipper voice.
I almost thought it was Eric for a few seconds.
I did too. It was weird.
I miss him so much. I miss Eric.
Do you really?
A little bit.
Oh, jeez.
He's so evil. He makes things a little bit more entertaining. Zipper's just kind of inept
Yeah.
and really good at climbing.
Yeah.
Well, all of the Misfits are Olympic climbers. And Aja.
That's true. There are too many good climbers.
The Misfits are still eating as well, like giant bowls of like when they end up spilling it, it's like it looks like porridge or something.
Yeah, I guess they were eating like hot soup on the beach. Great.
They're delicious.
Awesome.
I don't know why the show keeps trying to shame them for just enjoying local cuisine, because they're just having a good time. Like, they're just like, oh, this is delicious, and the show keeps being like, they're being lazy.
Well,
You're eating sharks, even though that's like actually a thing people do eat. Like, chill.
I would eat a shark right now.
yeah, no, I
In
would.
food.
I'd be
Yeah.
all up on that.
It sounds okay.
I would like to point out that it's a small miracle that because Madeline and I just ate very late lunch, I am actually not hungry while we were recording this podcast.
Oh,
I don't think
wow.
that's ever happened before. And the Misfits are eating a lot too, which made me think, I'm hungry. And then I went, no, I'm not hungry. I just ate.
There you go. Perfect.
Nice.
So no need to send Kristen a grilled cheese in the mail.
I mean, I still haven't gotten one. I'll probably be hungry by the time you mail it anyway, but I don't want to dwell on that, really.
The way that Zipper said, like, oh, because the holograms have been having shark, I thought you guys might like some shark, or whatever he says.
He doesn't even say the word shark. He just starts doing, I thought you guys might.
I thought that implied that Zipper made the dish for them.
Maybe he's really good at it.
I bet
They
some
loved it.
holograms into it.
As soon as they
It's
learned it was
Shayna
shark,
soup.
they're just like, ew, no, ugh, and it's like, shark's a delicacy in some places, I bet.
It's not that weird, and also they were enjoying it, which means, canon, Zipper's a good cook. That's really
Man.
neat.
I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning, and I killed that shark with my bare hands.
And then it's time for the 5th annual Battle of the Music Stars, which is hosted by Don Lowe, I guess. A man in a Hawaiian shirt with a lei. He's just
Awesome.
Don Lowe, whatever. And we're getting right into it because
Lopan.
it's already David Lopan.
Once
charge.
again.
Once again, returning after his star-studded role in Blade Runner and Big Trouble in Little China for this role in Gem as Don Lopan, David Lowe.
All the green-eyed ladies better watch out.
Who even has green eyes? Aja?
I think Aja might.
Does Stormer have green eyes?
Maybe? We always get into these discussions and we never know. We know Roxy has pink eyes.
Yes.
We've determined that, and Gem has blue eyes, and that's it.
Yes, and Rio, I believe, has blue eyes.
I
And
don't
Zipper,
remember.
depending on the episode, Zipper might have blue eyes.
It depends on the mood he's in.
And we're starting right off because it's like right at this bike event, and when we start, Shayna looks like she's winning, and then we see Roxy like flying ahead, which we don't see her flip the switch for the electromagnet or anything, so I don't know. Maybe she's just good at like Roxy's winning is the thing.
Roxy had to be good at biking in the first place to do as well as she was.
Yes, one small thing.
Mhm.
She flips the red switch, which makes the oil slick go, when before, when she was riding the bike, it was the green switch.
Do you
What
think
the
Zipper
fuck?
changed it?
Yeah.
Just
She was
to fuck with her?
trying to use the electromagnet, and she
She didn't listen.
she used the oil instead.
Uh-huh.
It still worked to her advantage.
Yep. So maybe she watched him and was like, I see you. You think I don't know this game? Please.
And then she uses the grease wheel spike things to ruin Shayna's bike, and she gets disqualified,
That's not-
I guess.
This isn't how Grease is supposed to go.
They
The Scorpions aren't supposed to win. Grease lightning.
Next is the pole vault. Actually, this happens incredibly quickly, actually. I don't know, like, for this being the show called Gem does basically nothing in this episode.
Mm-hmm. It's a Kimber and a Volcano episode.
It's a Kimber
primarily.
it's a Kimber Zipper Volcano episode.
OTP.
Gem, we see her just, she's great, look at that. If nobody beats Gem, she's gonna win. And then Pizzazz breaks the world record, which is a little suspect.
Yeah.
What? Maybe she's just real good at pole vaulting. Come on.
Not
What,
only
just because
that,
she eats, she can't pole vault?
not only that,
Too misfit to pole vault?
Pizzazz does like a flip in the air, like a front flip after
See,
doing
she's
the pole
clearly
vault.
good. She wouldn't be doing flips if she wasn't good. She would fall on her neck and then no more misfits.
Are they just playing to their strengths, I guess, Zipper's little inventions?
I guess so.
It's at this point that it's probably not the first time we saw them, but it's when I wrote the note that I like the Gem and the Holograms is like Gem team uniforms that look like basketball uniforms.
They're very cute.
They are pretty snazzy. Credit where credit is due. Do you think Shayna designed them?
If she
Or do you think just as
submitted,
a big fuck you to Shayna, they just went over her head and had them ordered?
I'm gonna assume that the Battle of the Music Stars people were just like, here, wear these.
But the Misfits didn't have any.
Oh yeah, they didn't have anything
They might
that
have
said
been
Misfits
given
on them, did they? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they were wearing just regular outfits. Yeah, they were just like, fuck these.
Yeah.
But no,
it
they
could've
were
given
wearing
them
like
just
yellow
a-
tank top things, I'm pretty sure.
They were wearing, I remember they were wearing like stripes, but they were wearing stripes in different places.
Mm.
So like some people had striped shorts and other ones had striped tops.
They were
so
customizing.
They were.
That's creativity. They should get extra points for
They
that.
had their own plan.
Yeah.
Steve is angry because he's just like, oh, I wish I could have an instant replay of that after Pizzazz's world record breaking thing. But it ain't cheating unless you get caught, so calm your shit, dude.
Yeah. That's the holograms cheat sometimes, and they still win. They do cheat to combat cheating occasionally, but 2 cheats don't make a not cheat.
Stormer then breaks the high jump world record, which, again, is somebody checking this out? Like, what's going on here? Roxy didn't get to break any records. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, maybe she should have biked a little faster.
We get to see all of these gadgets in action, and apparently those are all the events for the day. And Don Lowe says, David Lopan says, that the scores are tied at this point. The
All
Misfits...
of them?
That's
Like
the thing.
all.
Who else is there?
I mean, presumably more than just 2 bands, because otherwise it's not very much.
2 bands from the same area of California
in Hawaii.
in record companies that are across the street from each other.
Yeah, because there were a lot more people in the bike event, and like, yeah, this I don't know. Don Lowe just says the scores are tied, and even though the Misfits broke 2 world records, the
They're
scores are
somehow
tied.
not in
Fuck it.
first.
I'm just very disappointed at like everything had to be such kind of like basic sportsy things like pole vault and bike riding and stuff. And like, not to say, but there are some really, really good like idol competitions.
There
like,
are.
Yo, you've seen some of them. There's one called Let's Go Dream Team where one time they were like, they had to go through this whole obstacle course and slide through this giant foam shark's mouth and not get bit.
Kimber would be really bad at that.
There was like jumping on a trampoline trying to hit a cymbal with the top of your head, and that determined which team came first, how many times you smashed your head into a thing. They could have done so much, but they had to do bike riding, high jump. Like,
It was more like
so basic.
like Wipeout or
Ninja Warrior, Sasuke,
I'm thinking of
Sometimes they do serious
Takeshi's
stuff,
Castle.
Takeshi's Castle. That's what I was
but
thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good stuff. They could have done so much. They could have done so much.
Well,
They didn't want to animate all that. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
they
they'd
don't
have
wanna,
to think up more things.
Uh-huh.
They don't want to make an animated Takeshi's Castle that they're only going to use in 1 episode. It's evening now. Gem and Company are all kind of dressed in like flowery.
Doesn't it feel really weird we haven't had a song yet? I know one's coming up very soon.
Yes, there was
But
no song in
big
segment
yikes.
1. There was no song in segment 1, which is very weird.
Yeah, we're quite a bit into the episode and there's no song, which is weird because like usually a lot of the time there's been a song like right at the top of the episode, so it feels very belated.
And again, there was 2 minutes in this episode that they could have slid another song into,
And they
But-
chose not to.
but they chose to do encores instead. So whatever. Shayna's sad that Kimber's not here to see the hula show, I guess. But Gem's like, oh no, Kimber's getting sex from Steve, so it's fine.
She's, hanging out with the Ken doll. She's doing great, don't worry. She got 10 boyfriends now.
So we cut to Kimber and Steve on a beach, and Kimber's big event is tomorrow. Steve is just like, no, you're going to be great. You're the best swimmer I've ever coached, because he's never coached any other swimmers.
Yeah, when he said Madeline and I were both like, we both doubt that very strongly. Yeah, Kimber's the best swimmer ever. That sounds great. You want to have sex with her.
Kimber's gonna, I guess, confess something at this point. I don't, just all I know is the Misfits ruined the moment. They like interrupt and
I've known you for several hours and I love you, Kendall. What was your name again?
the Misfits are on stage pushing off the hula girls. Fuck out of here. This isn't about hula. This is about song 1 of the evening, which is in segment 2, which is weird because I wrote song 2 at first and it isn't. We're the Misfits in Hawaii, which we are going to play for you right now.
We're misfits in Hawaii, singing a Hawaiian song. We're misfits in Hawaii. We wear a sarong, but it looks so wrong. We're misfits in Hawaii, seeing the Hawaiian sights. We're misfits in Hawaii. We spend all of our nights scratching insect bites. We've been to the beach and returned, and oh, did we get burned? Ouch! We bask in the tropical breezes. We got 7 tropical diseases. We're misfits in Hawaii, sleeping in Hawaiian huts. We're misfits in
song's a fucking unique monster, isn't it?
Well, a little history of the podcast for everyone out there. The test recording that Kristen and I did was talking about We're the Misfits in Hawaii, because it is honestly one of my favorite things in the series.
We need to figure out if we were any good at podcasting.
Madeline, what do you think of We're the Misfits in Hawaii?
I am a little bit bitter towards this song because one time someone on Tumblr was doing a meme of which Gem and the Hologram song are you? And I got Misfits in Hawaii, which I didn't know how to take that. And I listened to it for the first time and I was like, really? But just the fact that they're like, we're the Misfits in Hawaii, singing a Hawaiian song, which it's like not a Hawaiian song, you're just the Misfits and you're talking about whatever. They just list a bunch of like grievances, which I don't know if they want people to applaud of like, hey, we're in Hawaii and we hate it here and everything sucks.
And they
love us.
They came on stage specifically saying like, we wrote it for this holiday for you.
And then all they do is shit on Hawaii. Like there's so, and for like bug bites, like you get bug bites everywhere.
Yeah.
Excuse you, there aren't just bugs in Hawaii.
I'm sorry your skin got too tan.
Oh,
Go inside.
put on sunscreen.
Go into one of those huts, I guess, because there are no buildings.
Do I want to call it the most un-Misfits song of Misfits songs?
I think so.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. Like,
Because
you
it's
know.
them complaining and not them talking about how great they are.
Yeah.
It's a very different vibe.
Joe, can you guess what my favorite piece of animation in this song is?
Oh, let me think real quick. Is it Pizzazz swinging backwards on the vine with like no momentum going forwards? So she just starts
It looks like
swinging backwards?
They must have, like, reversed that footage for real because there's no logic whatsoever to this. Pizzazz is, like, literally going backwards with no reason to. She just kind of swings back and then lands without looking. 10 points!
And then also walks backwards and hits a tree hard enough to knock down a beehive.
That's a strong ass.
Also, while they're running away from the beehive, they have, as I noted, like Hanna-Barbera running animations.
That's one of the problems I have with this fucking episode. Way too Scooby-Doo.
We have, of course, when went to the beach and we turned, and oh, did we get burned? Roxy pulling Stormer's shoulder string and snapping it, which is not a nice thing to do.
Well, Roxy's not a nice person.
That's very, you're very true. Pizzazz gets blown away by a monsoon as well, basically.
I'm Googling right now. I don't know if you could hear me because when we did our test episode, we talked about one of the lyrics where they discuss a sarong and whether or not that's actually a Hawaiian thing.
I think so, right? Is it? Did we determine? I think because, you're the fashion expert, so you should know.
Well, I don't know much about, I like to pretend I do, and I appreciate that you think I do, but yeah, it says on many Pacific islands, so I guess that's a pass we can give it. But I don't typically think of Hawaii when I think of sarongs. It's not the first place my mind goes.
I do when I think of like the weird kind of bastardized version of sarongs. They're usually very much used as like pool cover up. Like, oh, we're gonna put an ugly flower print on this and call it a Hawaiian thing. So I think it makes sense.
They managed to rhyme sarong with something, so.
All the rhymes were so bad too. I don't even remember what most of them were, but they were really bad.
Well, one of them was sleeping in Hawaiian huts and turning into Hawaiian nuts.
Oh yeah,
whatever the fuck that means.
Now, when they say we wear a sarong, but it looks so wrong, does that mean that they don't like sarongs, or they just look shitty in them?
I think they might be wearing the wrong size or the wrong.
Or maybe they're wrapping it wrong.
It could be.
It's not that hard, so.
They just hate Hawaii. Go home. You don't have to be here. Like. You can buy, you are clearly like morally bankrupt enough that it is not the winning of the game that matters. You want a trophy, buy a trophy. Go home, get a hoagie, get a trophy, have a lie down. You're fine.
Couldn't they technically also like kind of pull one over on the whole competition by being like, we don't actually like Hawaii. Fuck you guys, we're leaving.
That would have been so crappy, but also kind of badass.
Yeah.
I'm just like halfway through being like, so we've broken all these world records. See ya.
I don't even care anymore. Bye. And
this was what we came for.
And they would make the news. I don't know if I'm a little bit disturbed that I've been doing this podcast and I'm getting into Pizzazz's head. I don't think I want to be there.
And now, that's the end of the song, basically, is they luge down a river of lava on a tiki
That's how lava
thing.
works, as we will see later as well. This is definitely how lava works.
Accepting their death, being sacrificed to the volcano god, kind of wistfully saying, Misfits in Hawaii. That's it. It's over.
And then they say aloha again, because it also means goodbye.
Oh, of course. Because, they start with aloha, because that means aloha.
That's true. It's like that movie, that really good movie.
I'm not sure how much of that happened either, because obviously,
All of it.
All of it happened? Okay.
Yeah, including the lava.
Yeah. like with how the lava behaves later in the part that
it could easily
it's supposed to be quote unquote real. Like, yeah, that's real lava. I believe it. Good job, Pizzazz.
Steve says at this point that he needs to go get some food to get his mind off of the entertainment, which I don't know what that means. I don't know. Like,
I distract myself with food too.
He
I feel
gets
like-
real sassy.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
I
that's like
appreciate it.
half a burn. Like he was trying to construct something better, but just ended up being like, I need to go get some food because I didn't like it.
I just appreciate that after this really kind of mean song that like was just being really rude about their stay in Hawaii, that there's at least one character who's just like, well, that was bad, right? See you later.
Yeah, there's no
I'm glad-
applause or anything, which is good because
Yeah.
even when the Misfits are being shitbirds and storming onto the stage to be like, "Why are we a song now?" No, you don't have a choice. They usually get a pretty warm reception. Here,
Yeah.
not so much.
Kimber says that she's gonna go talk to Jem real quick, and Steve is like, hey, you don't have to spend every waking moment with me. And Kimber's just like, that sounds like fun.
Let's get engaged.
Oh my god.
It sounded to
Kimber,
me like
things are moving really fast with the Kendall.
Steve is just like, Kimber, can you go away for a little bit? I don't want to be around you all the time. And Kimber's
I'm
just
Rio,
like,
and I really don't have time to be in a love square.
I need to go be Rio for Jem real quick. God damn it, Kimber, go away. I need to be Rio for a little bit.
Show's over, Sonergy.
It's at this point that Pizzazz must have felt that very same attraction that she feels to Rio occasionally to Steve, because it's,
She smelled him.
Rio. She's like, oh, Rio's here. Who's that guy?
Well, he smells like Rio.
Rio, what'd you do with your hair?
I feel like Rio would smell like cheesesteaks.
Yeah? Why?
No, but ones with whiz on them too.
Yeah.
It's like they're just like kind of wrong and a little bit meaty.
Yeah, just like greasy food, like he was getting sad food because there's no one to cook for him because he doesn't know how to cook for himself.
No.
And she...
I hope you enjoyed that aside.
And for some reason, Pizzazz is just like, how'd you like our song, Steve? And Steve's just like, I didn't. It was funnier than the shark prank you tried to pull on Kimber earlier. And I think that's a little assumptive of Steve to be like, the Misfits clearly tried to make a mechanical shark. I mean, it's we come back to this so many times of there's no proof, but they automatically assume it's the Misfits. But when they don't assume it's the Misfits, we get angry at them. So I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, but Pizzazz, I don't think she would really like being told that her songs are funny either. I feel like she's got that sort of Mac from Always Sunny vibe where it's like laughs are cheap. I'm going for gasps. That's what she wants more than applause.
Oh god, yeah.
Pizzazz is definitely Nightman.
And Steve blows off Pizzazz at this point, and Pizzazz screams one of her wonderful Pizzazz screams. And then Roxy comes in to make fun of her because that's just what the Misfits do. They just talk shit on each other to each other's faces.
But Pizzazz is like, I'm gonna ask Zipper to kill Kimber. This is too much work.
He's wearing the worst straw hat I've ever seen drawn.
It looks like he found it on the ground.
Every single thing. Okay, because sometimes they draw things that don't make sense, or they draw things where straps don't line up right, whatever. This hat, like, someone's just like, I don't know how to do this, and they just like made a bunch of polygons, stuck them together.
What does the hat look like?
They had no idea. It was really, really bad.
It's like a rectangle on top of another rectangle. Oh shit! I don't know.
a bunch of spikes. I don't know how hats.
That's the hay.
This is my favorite part of the episode, I think. Well, it's close, because it's just...
I know what your favorite part of the episode is.
I burst out laughing when Pizzazz comes over to Zipper, and Zipper, who was watching the Hula Girls, is just like, not now, Pizzazz, I'm busy.
I'm trying to mac on these hula ladies. I think it's working.
Oh god.
He's like the pickup artist.
Oh no.
Pizzazz is trying to, like, suck up to Zipper, too, like, oh, I tried talking to Jem and the Holograms trainer, and he was mean to me. And Zipper is just
Zipper's
like,
I don't give a fuck.
I got more important things to do watching Hula Girls.
So she eventually kind of uses the correct words to let him know, like, hey, maybe if you murdered Kimber, she wouldn't be able to win swimming tomorrow because she'd be dead and she would sink.
Yeah, the big thing on Zipper's mind is that Kimber is going to win the swimming competition even if they cheat because she's that good, which I find...
I don't find it. Since when are we really supposed to believe just for this episode Kimber's real good at swimming?
Kimber's a really good swimmer.
Stop saying that. You caught me by surprise this time.
And not only that, we see at a certain point that, the camera changes so we're behind Zipper and Pizzazz, and we see that Jem and Kimber are like 5 feet away, just talking. And they don't notice that Zipper and Pizzazz are fucking devising a plan to kidnap and kill Kimber. And, like, is this the closest the holograms and the Misfits have gotten without murdering each other?
I think when they were working out on the beach and the Misfits were just kind of sitting there sunbathing, that would have been a really, really good time for them to just kill them.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah.
They have so many opportunities. They're like, we're going to subtly do this, where you're going to...
I don't think the subtle approach is their strong suit.
No, they
That's
just
the
need to
problem.
go ahead and just fucking kill them already.
Let loose.
If that's your plan, just do it.
Go for it. You're a star.
Doing the right thing makes you a superstar.
We need to come up with a Misfits version of that. But I guess it's taking what you want makes you a misfit.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Kimber walks off at this point. I don't know if she's just going to fight because she's just like, Steve. And we see some Hawaiian girl, Giselle, who we will see later. I just called her Hawaii girl before this because she did not name herself until later. She's hanging out with some other girl who looks like Bonnie.
Great job, guys. Great job with the animation.
And is just like, oh, I'm going to go get Kimber's autograph. And then it took 15
Whoa,
episodes.
wait. Her
Well,
friend
okay.
goes, okay, I'll stay here on this rock. You go. I'll stay in the Hawaiian jungle by myself. Go for it. You're a superstar.
hiding behind a rock. But yes, it took 15 episodes from when Zipper first said, that's right, walk right into my arms, before he could go and just grab Kimber himself.
Did you
get
feel
him in her
satisfying
own
for him?
arms. I think so. I think he's just like, you know what, I'm being proactive for once in my life, and this is a good step. I like this.
Forget these long cons. I was ready to grab her that one time. I'm just gonna stick with the grabbing. I feel like that really works for me.
Giselle sees the entire thing as Zipper takes Kimber away. Kimber doesn't do a very good job of... She's just kind of like, oh, let me go, you big... Ooh, let me go, kind of things.
I mean, but you're carrying me. I don't really feel like walking right now because it's been such a long day of swimming, so I'm a little bit sore. But could you, like, bring me in the other direction? Away from the volcano, maybe?
And it is at this point where Kimber is left by Zipper in an active volcano.
Tied up, just hanging out, screaming behind bandana over her mouth or something.
Zipper is willing to kill Kimber just so the Misfits can win a trophy.
Yeah, that's how his bloodlust can be satisfied. Only one way. By volcano.
I'm also curious how this cave that he carried her into came to be, because there is like a Mountain Doom style walk-in cave with just a ledge and then lava.
Yep.
Like, someone is maintaining this because
Come right in.
It looks very homey, but also, why does that?
Welcome to my humble volcano abode.
Nobody put tape over that and was like, don't walk in here though. It's hot in there.
You'll get baked up if you come in here. Don't even worry about the lava. It's just hot.
As Zipper is leaving as well, the volcano starts like acting up, obviously because it has a girl sacrificing for the the volcano god.
Yeah.
Her presence is disturbing it. They're like,
Yeah.
what's this shit?
And segment 2 ends with Kimber being so close to lava she should be dead. Actually,
Oh, yeah,
even before the volcano starts acting up, Zipper and Kimber should be dead.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And while Zipper is walking away, also, he notices that the volcano is being like, bubble, bubble, I got a girl inside me.
Oh my god.
And he's like, oh, I didn't count on that. Well, that takes care of the rest of that job for me. Just gonna leave her there. Baked
Easy.
Kimber.
Easy cleanup. Segment 3 starts at this point. Kimber is not dead, even though her feet are dangling literally right above the lava.
They're keeping her feet nice and warm. It's comfortable.
Steve and everybody else is out, back where the hula girls are, and he exclaims that Owana Nui Huhu, I believe, is erupting.
Is Madeline Googling this
I'm
for
gonna
us?
Google this really quick.
Okay.
Was it A or O starting it?
He doesn't have
O,
subtitles,
I
so we
think.
don't know. I think it's an O, though.
Owana Nui Huhu, I think.
Where are the quote-unquote active volcanoes near Honolulu? Within walking distance of Honolulu.
That is the other problem. Yes. I just assumed that it was something that sounded vaguely Hawaiian, or it's a joke. I don't know if it's supposed to be, like, putting it together, sound like Oa Nui Huhu is supposed to sound like something. I don't know. Hopefully this is the last time we see it, even though it's probably not. But it's at this point also, nobody notices that, up until this point, nobody noticed that Kimber was not around.
They just assumed she was having sex.
Steve is right there, though. Who is she having sex with?
Uh-oh.
Damn it, Kimber.
Can't keep one guy for 1 minute, can she? Oh, that Kimber.
At this point, as well, the Hawaii girl, Giselle, who I also wrote down as i.e. reincarnated dance, because
Yep. Why the hell would
can't have
they-
two people with the same name in the series.
Yeah, why would they do that? I guess, do we not know that Giselle's dance's name yet, or did we get that?
I don't think we know that Giselle is Dance's name. I don't think that happens until the episode in like the 3rd season or whatever, when she goes back to Romania?
Are you asking that as if you want my confirmation?
I don't know. Is it Romania?
Somewhere.
Somewhere cold. I don't know.
Any leads on the volcano research?
Yeah,
Madeline?
reporting back, there is nothing anywhere even close to whatever the fuck they called. But there are a lot more volcanoes than I anticipated, and 5 active ones, which I was gonna say, like, are there really that many active volcanoes? Yep, there's a lot of active volcanoes.
I hope Hawaii's doing all right.
I mean, active can just mean that it, like, is kind of right at the top at night, you know. So
I feel like I have enough problems in my life without living near an active volcano.
So, Giselle comes up and is just like, Jem, I'm so glad I found you. And Jem is just like, buzz off, kid. I don't need to give you an autograph right now.
She channels Pizzazz for a second.
And then she reveals that she saw a man drag Kimber into the volcano, which everyone should have been like, oh my god, Kimber's dead. But no, they were like, we gotta go into the volcano too.
Yep, let's bring this little girl
Let's
into the
bring
volcano
this
with
kid
us.
into the volcano with us.
because she'll know her way around the volcano.
She's Hawaiian.
She's a volcano child.
She was probably born in there.
Jesus.
The cave entrance gets caved in as well once they're in there and like walking
Everyone
around.
dead.
And I like how they don't show us how they get out. They just do. But
We found the back door.
the ground is just collapsing all around them as they find Kimber. And yeah, Steve is just kind of like, I know a way out. Let's go.
Okay, Steve, who it has not been established that he has even been to Hawaii before.
Oh no. I just read one of my notes and it says Shayna's outfit is fire. Get it? 'Cause it's lava. I'm mad at me. That was 2 hours ago. Why did I do that?
Killer outfits.
Killer volcano outfit.
Anyway, Shayna's outfit is not half bad, despite the fact that everyone, including the Misfits in this episode, is dressed up in costume.
Yep, it's not great.
Yeah.
We cut to a stadium now in the middle of the city, which is the closest we get to a city in this episode, where day 2 of the events are starting, and it's just like, hey, it's time for day 2. And Pizzazz wins!
Yay, she swim good!
Without even cheating, or if she did cheat, we didn't see it, but like, it's just, she gets out of the pool and just takes the medal and is like, yeah, I win! And the crowd is chanting, we want Jem, even though Kimber is the one who is supposed to be swimming.
I'm getting pretty sick of these like crowd situations where something's happening. Gem and the holograms are delayed because they always are, and it should be part of their reputation that they're never on time to anything. Because they never are, and people are still like, we want Gem, and it's like, fuck you, you have the Misfits right here. You don't know they're bad people.
And like some of the people who went to this event presumably don't necessarily know Gem and the holograms. Gem, like, they never won anything. They haven't won a single. Why are they rooting for them so hard? They've never won a single one of these competitions.
We're big fans!
They had a really successful movie, though.
Yeah, forever ago.
This took all night, apparently, as well, because they get out of the volcano. Like I said, we just show them exiting the volcano.
Found our way out!
And Jem is just like, oh, it's morning already. And it's like, how long were you in that goddamn volcano? You should be dead!
Yep, but apparently they're just like so ready to do a fucking tug of war.
None of them even complain about the heat!
My skin hurts! Shut up, Kimber.
Shut up, Kimber. You shouldn't even have skin.
Yeah, you're
Be
lucky.
grateful.
Ugh.
Yeah, and they're going to be late for the event. Oh no! And Giselle is just like, I know a shortcut to the city where the stadium is, I guess.
Because I live in this volcano.
The Misfits win the swim competition by default, but Jem and company arrive apparently having enough time to...
Aren't there other people competing?
They're not as
None
good
of
as the
them are any
Misfits.
good.
Fucking god damn it.
Even though the Misfits have been stuffing their faces the entire time, they're still better than everyone else.
But what does by default mean? Because they use that word.
Just instead of
Because
Kimber
we
getting her...
assumed that Kimber would have beat them.
instead of Kimber forfeits. Maybe it's, I wrote by default, they might not have said by default, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, but like if everyone should be swimming at the same time anyway. So like if Pizzazz won, then she won because you can't show up and be like, now it's my turn to swim.
Well, that's, Kimber doesn't get to swim anyway, because they just go straight to the tug of war.
Yeah, and then after the tug of war, they get tied up somehow.
Roxy says that, oh, we're going to finish off Jem and the holograms, which I guess it would be the final thing, which is the tug of war.
Zipper, stand behind them and bite their ankles.
Charlie Adler is also very clearly voicing the referee.
That's where Eric's been.
He was the referee the whole time.
He takes the microphone and goes, Pizzazz, cut out the shit and focus.
Kimber also, at this point, when Zipper is, like, yelling behind the Misfits, she's like, wait a minute, that voice sounds familiar. Like, she doesn't know who Zipper is?
Yeah, like the dude who is always skiing with you and sounds like a guy named Zipper.
At a certain point, they're either in a very like narrow arena or something happens, because when it starts out, we see the holograms on the left and the Misfits on the right, and then something ends up getting switched, and the Misfits are on the left all of a sudden, and I don't know.
They did a little spin around.
They did a
decided
little
wanted to change
switcheroo.
places,
Maybe-
and we just didn't get to see it.
Maybe it's round 2. I don't know. Kimber realizes that it was Zipper that took her, but she doesn't say, "Oh, it was Zipper." She goes, "There's the creep who kidnapped me," which incenses Steve, and he like chases after Zipper and tackles him.
And then Jem and her friends, her beanpole friends, are so excited that they win the tug of war, and all of the Misfits fall into the mud, and they make weird noises.
They're very strange noises.
Yeah, they go ah like
So,
multiple times.
I have a question about the tug of war. It's 3-on-3, obviously, because there's 3 Misfits. It was Jem, Kimber, and Shayna. At the beginning of this episode, Aja was shown to be like athletic and fucking proactive and shit, and she was just left out of the tug of war.
You want to know why? Because she doesn't have a boyfriend.
Oh no,
Mhm.
boyfriends only, Aja. Sorry, you gotta wait until season 2 for that.
Yep, she got ostracized. This is how it goes. This is just the beginning of the end, Aja.
Steve also punches Zipper into the mud.
And that's not like a conduct issue here, apparently.
Yeah, a fight breaking out in the middle of the tug of war does not stop the tug of war for some reason.
Because they're like, yay, extra entertainment. Are you not entertained?
The win for Gem of the Holograms means they're tied again, which
Somehow.
does not make much sense.
I haven't won a single thing.
Even if we assume that they got 3 points or something for winning the tug of war, the Misfits still have 4.
I mean, during the last song, we see events that we didn't see throughout, or at least one event, but I don't know how many events were like cut from the episode
They
or
do
something.
a bad job explaining it, so I'm
They
not
do
willing
it-
to
yeah,
excuse
we don't
it
know.
away.
We don't know how many events we haven't seen for all the scores to be tied and shit like that.
Enough for every other group, which presumably there's 1 or 2, for all of them to have the same number of points. Clearly.
Yep.
Score is tied among 17 different teams. It's been a really long day.
Mhm. They immediately have proof that Zipper did kidnap Kimber. This is a very speedy arrest.
Yes,
I guess he probably stole something on the way there.
He
so,
also
like,
he also trips on his flip flops when he tries to run away from the cops, which I found a very humanizing moment.
Zipper, he's just like us.
He also can't run in flip flops, which I
Zipper's-
accidentally the first time around did spell ziplocs instead of flip flops.
Ziploc.
Close enough.
The Ziploc flip-flops, of course. Zipper's, already in cuffs when we cut to him, and he sells out the Misfits immediately. He
This
just
is why Eric doesn't get him a lawyer.
he snitches all over the place, and Pez is just like, "Oh, where's your proof? You can't prove that." And then here comes Giselle, who actually stole. Was it just that it was out on the field? She said. But
That's what
comes
she
in-
says.
She
Yeah.
comes in with the Misfits bags that have all the gadgets and shit in them that made them cheat.
Those springs don't prove anything.
How do you know Stormer was wearing them exactly?
Maybe they're just for funsies.
And David Lopan is so angry that he disqualifies the Misfits, as if it's in his authority to do so, even though he's just the host. And there are no TV
Sure.
cameras on him or anything. He's just like, you're disqualified.
Yeah, this like quote unquote awards ceremony is very informal, which I guess saves up for the cool ass concert they have afterwards in half a flower stage.
Yeah, because Steven and Kimber embrace because Jim the Holograms win, and it's time for song number 2 of the evening in segment 3, because I almost said song 3. How You Play the Game, which is the song that I did not remember at all.
I only vaguely remembered it, and that's because when clicking through to figure out whether or not this episode had a PSA at the end, I clicked onto the replay of it.
It kind of does in a sense. The whole thing is a PSA. Turns out sneak attack PSA. Don't cheat. Cheating's bad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Let's not cheat.
I was very, I was listening to the song, and, I pause as I write notes, so, I'll hear half of a lyric and start, writing it down, like, oh, okay, I see what kind of message this is conveying. At the lyrics of, how you're feeling at the finish, when it's all over, that's what really matters. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like a, do your best kind of song, and, it's just, don't play to win, and things like that. And then the song gets fucking ham-fisted and obvious in the very next line when I unpause and Jem goes, it's not about who wins.
Oh, yeah, they were being blatant enough before. We need to really make sure the dumb kids understand.
And like, not to mention, not about who wins. Easy to say when you're the team that did not win a single competition and yet somehow won the entire competition.
And yeah, literally,
by default.
it literally didn't matter that we didn't win anything because we still won.
They gave us the trophy anyway.
We're
'Cause
such good friends.
they
Kimber
played
doesn't
their-
have skin anymore.
They played their hearts out. Those damn holograms. That's why they won.
Can we add Kimber not having skin to our holograms injury headcanon?
I was gonna ask, is this
Does-
canon now?
Does she not already have a peg leg?
Well, she has a peg leg and now
And
no
no
skin.
skin.
And no skin. Okay.
I feel like this is too egregious for us not to
a
reference.
no sleep story.
Yeah.
I saw something in the corner. I think it was Kimber.
Oh no.
But she had no skin.
She whispered outrageous and then she disappeared. And now, since you heard the story, you are cursed too.
At the beginning as well, the Misfits are watching from the back of the crowd, and they're pushed aside by some kids with balloons, which like take over the screen. And I want to say, it cuts to like it's supposed to be the sound of the balloons popping, maybe, but it's like the referee holding a pistol up. But it's not a starter pistol. He has a handgun.
They do things different in Hawaii.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there.
Like a starter pistol looks like a tiny little revolver. Like it's a starter. He has a fucking 9mm handgun.
I guess Beth Bornstein didn't know that.
She drew the whole thing herself.
We see
No,
Aja
she wrote in the script, ref has handgun. Shoots, bullet, race, start, hits blimp.
It was not a good year that year.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
We see what I can only assume is something that was cut from the episode or something of Aja and Stormer in a foot race, which makes me remember that Aja did not participate in any of the events.
She got to hang out.
Stormer also somehow trips herself while attempting to trip Aja.
Tries to elbow her in the boob and it backfires.
We see a recap of Stormer and Roxy racing. Roxy holds the trophy, but all the holograms are like gathering around each other and being like, yeah, you did a good job. And this is when the how you're feeling at the finish when it's all over, blah, blah. That's what really matters. Not who wins part happens. And then when it goes to not who wins, like Roxy's standing all dejected with the trophy down and her shadow's really long. You'd think she'd fucking killed somebody.
It was very dramatic.
Yeah, I feel like Roxy doesn't get a lot of congratulations. So, like, why aren't any of her friends, her bad friends, saying good job on that trophy, Roxy?
Because it was expected. She didn't do anything out of the ordinary. She was just like, yeah, I knew she'd win. Okay.
Man, this song is turning me into a nihilist.
We see, Jem pole vaulting and Kimber surfing for some reason. I don't know why, but she's just really good at
She's
surfing.
good at swimming.
She's really good at she's really
The
good.
same thing.
Kimberfing? No, that sounds terrible.
Oh, God.
Ah,
That's the worst.
is that like surfing and vomiting simultaneously?
Kimberfing, of course.
It's because she lives in the water because she's a shimbark? How do we do that?
Kimbark?
Kimbark or shimber. There we go. Shimber. Although shimbark is a really better one.
She's a Kimbermaid.
Shimbark sounds like a Pokemon.
Shimbark does.
Write it down.
Coming out in Pokemon Sun.
Send it out to Game Freak. It'll be great. There's a jumping high five between Kimber and Aja, and the sun explodes behind them.
Yeah, there's a pink sun, and it pops, and then the world ends. I think they all died in that volcano joke.
This is just a fever dream we're experiencing.
Yeah, the rest of the series doesn't exist, which explains why something as ridiculous as Riot happens in season 3.
And they never showed us how they got out of the volcano, so it could just all be leading
They're
up.
ghosts!
Yeah, at the very, very end of the series, they're going to show a flashback of you thought all this was real, but really,
Jem and the ghosts.
you never saw them get out of the volcano.
We're just telling a lot of scary stories now, aren't we?
Really going for the long con here with this
Tonight on Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That was basically all a recap video. That was the end of the song. It's an incredibly heavy-handed song, how you play the game. I didn't remember it at all, and I probably won't remember it in like a week or two, because it's a very middling Gem and the Holograms song.
I won a lot of trophies when I was little, so I don't need a song like that.
David Lopan arrives to give Gem the trophy, and Gem decides she'd rather give it to Giselle, and I feel like I'm getting flashbacks to this song goes out to Lynn.
It's basically the same exact thing.
It's almost like they only know how to write one kind of story when they're in a different country.
I'm a big fan! Thank you for the thing you're giving me that you don't really need.
And I wrote, of course, Gem and Dance greasing each other's pockets. What else is new?
For real.
Kimber and Steve have one last long walk on the beach, and Steve actively prevents Kimber at like before they go on the walk from leaving, I'm not letting you out of my sight again.
That's what we call a red flag.
I understand you're trying to be protective, but slow your roll there, buddy.
Yep, you aren't my dad.
He's
Bro.
dead.
So, like, there's no way you are actually. But you are, and then she snatches his wig and pulls it off. Rio in a wig!
And just in time for Rio to run away from Kimber without Kimber being able to tell Jem. Jem's standing on the beach, and here's Rio. Rio just fucking shows up. He's just like, hey, what did I miss? What's going on?
I screamed.
My last note is all caps, go home, Rio.
Yep.
So, go home, Rio.
Why did... At least...
I'm here for nighttime in Hawaii. I'm gonna go to sleep and then get back on the plane with you guys in the morning, I guess.
Maybe he just has a lot of frequent flyer miles. That's why he keeps showing up to places at weird times, before the band, after the band.
Whatever. Here I am.
You know what? I think Beth Bornstein learned her lesson of Adventure in China, where Rio did
Letting
nothing.
Rio stay and not do anything.
Where Rio didn't do anything.
He just has a breakdown instead. That's too mean to Rio, so just let him show up at the end and be like, what happened?
Jem goes, it's a long story, and that's the end. That's it. We get 2 encores, and that's it. So that was Hot Time in Hawaii. It was weird, but a fun episode, especially for Misfits in Hawaii, which is, again, still my favorite. But now, Kristen, Madeline, things are going to get sad. We gotta
pray.
we gotta face the music. We mentioned it in the last episode, but the arrest of Zipper in this episode is his very last appearance in the series. He goes out cursing the Misfits, snitching on him immediately, and then he just rots in jail for the rest of the series, presumably.
Yep, no one
And-
visits him, I guess.
I think it's only fitting. I wrote a haiku to mourn his passing.
And we shall follow with all of our listeners as well with a moment of silence.
Shoulder tackling man, knock the lantern from her grip. My dear. Zip, zip, zap.
Moment of silence.
Now is the point in the evening when I list all of the fun contact things where you could follow us. You can find us on the Twitter machine at cwtapod. You can follow me at Octopus. That is AWKTAPUS.
Oh, there's still real tears in my eyes. You can follow me at FunnyGirlTM, like trademark.
Oh, and I'm at Ignore the Robot on Twitter. I did the art, but I don't do much else on Twitter.
That's fine.
I do the art and then I lie down.
Yep,
Yeah.
two good things to do.
Good way to live life. You can find us on the iTunes, on the SoundCloud, on the Stitcher Radio. Leave a rating, give a review, do whatever you feel like.
Friendster, MySpace.
Check out my mixtape.
You can reach us on the Gmail at cwtapod@gmail.com, where you can tell us all about weird James Bond gadgets you use to win a TV contest and how to survive being 3 feet away from lava. And I actually, Madeline, forgot until this very moment that we actually do have an email that we can answer this week.
I don't know why you directed that at me.
Also, you misspoke when you were talking about the James gadgets again. They're totally Spies gadgets. Email us and tell us if you are a Sam, a Clover, or an Alex.
But no, we have an email labeled important question here by one Madeline, whom...
I don't think so.
It must be another Madeline.
Hmm.
There are lots of them.
And I quote, "Since the Gem and the Holograms movie was pretty much universally hated by everybody who isn't me, what would you do if you were in charge of a live adaptation of Gem? Would you update it for a modern audience? Would it be a musical? Signed, a person who totally wasn't there when you saw the Gem movie and has not been on your podcast before, Schmadeline."
I don't know this Schmadeline person, but I like the cut of her jib.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a pretty similar opinion to Schmadeline.
I do. I really did like the Gem movie. And, like, no joke, I really, really did like the Gem movie. I like bad teen movies. That was an excellent bad teen movie.
Yeah, I think Joe and I, coming from more of a, at that point especially, very, like, we watched the entire series, both of us by that point. You hadn't watched as much of it with us, but we both enjoyed it too, but I think it was for a lot of the really subtle things that they tried to slip in there for Gem fans that wasn't enough for a lot of other people.
That's totally fair.
And Julia Lewis, she
Julia
was really
Lewis
good.
Chewing the scenery in every goddamn scene she's in was, molto bene.
Like, the only things I could really think of is literally just kind of making it more like the series, so not doing, like, girls who were the appropriate age instead of younger, because I think them being younger created problems that didn't exist in the original show and made things weirder.
That's fair.
And I think you gotta slant harder on the crazy fashion and the computer.
That was one thing is they did not lean into like Jem just kind of looked sort of trendy. She didn't look like really, really messed up.
They tried and they weren't successful, and they were really supposed to look super over the top.
Yeah.
Whereas they just kind of looked like most early
pop stars,
early 20s performers, or like teens.
Pseudo Just Dance era Lady Gagas.
Yeah, basically.
I've noticed that like the people who don't like it don't tend to dislike it because of how far it was from Gem and the Holograms, the show, but people just don't like it for completely arbitrary of like, would you have liked it if it was just an extended episode of Gem and the Holograms? Because I think that would be the worst hour and a half of anything you could ever watch. Like
we also talked about how we were totally fine with the fact that Rio knew that Jericho was Jem.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That's a stupid fucking problem in the cartoon.
And also, Rio was kind of palatable.
Uh-huh.
He was vaguely cute and not annoying.
Yeah, he was a perfectly fine, bland love interest.
Yeah.
The way that things come together with him being Juliette Lewis, who is Erica Raymond, for those who have not seen the Gem movie. Eric Raymond is played by Juliette Lewis in the Gem movie as Erica Raymond, and Rio is her son.
She's great. Uh-huh.
That was weird.
I guess it's like the only way they could have worked out the Starlight Music thing, since Emmett Benton didn't own Starlight Music in the movie.
He was just a dude, which is kind of...
To get it so that Starlight Music would be in good hands at the end of the movie, they turned it into, okay, so now Rio owns Starlight Music. Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Sorry, we've been completely steamrolling you. I apologize.
No, that's a lot of this will be discussed again, because we will do an episode about the movie eventually. Just we're not sure when yet. We're trying to figure out when that will be, but we will do an episode about the movie where we will talk about all this and more. But as far as updating the movie for a modern audience, I feel like it's tough. One of the big dynamics that you lose, as we said, Jem and Jerica being basically trying to be completely different people, of Jerica being a businesswoman and Jem being a rock star. You kind of lose that when it's... And I mean, the comic does it pretty well where, Jerica's just like a shy girl, Yeah,
and she has stage fright and she's already a vocalist.
Right. And it's not just something that happens by accident, pretty much.
Yeah, and synergy is there, and it's not a small BB-8 robot.
Yes.
So weird.
That is a weird problem for me. But okay, that, like I said, talk about that in the movie. I don't want to get back into it right now. Next week, Gem and the Holograms are headed off on adventure again from Hawaii to Morvania. Where is Morvania, you might ask?
What, you don't know?
Fuck you, I'm not a map. That's what I gotta say to that. Also, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's fake as shit.
Next week is The Princess and the Singer, or The Princess and the Sister, if you're Kristen.
Shut up.
Or The Princess and the Stinger, if you're me.
Uh-huh. Beautiful Riot.
Which is like The Prince and the Pauper, but not really.
But way dumber. And you know what? Eric Raymond's back, so we have that to look forward to.
Very true. Eric Raymond acting, I wouldn't even say out of character, but acting like he has a heart.
Mm-hmm. The human side of... inside Eric Raymond.
Inside Eric Raymond. It's also a Kimber episode, again, which this was a Kim episode, wasn't it?
Kinda. This was just a weird... This was a Zipper episode,
It really was!
This was definitely a Zipper episode.
He wore so many outfits.
And he did so many things. And
glamour and Zipper fashion and fame.
He was the only kind of thing in the plot that kept it moving.
He was... it's gonna fall apart without him. Rat hole.
It's gonna be all we have left is Tech Rat in the rat hole.
I don't want either of those things.
Well, you know what? We're just gonna have to brave it all together. For the Can We Talk About podcast, I am Joe.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Madeline.
And join us next time where we will talk about some more Gem and the Holograms.
Checks in the mail. I almost forgot.